Alright, so I'm out here to take a look at this truck here. I'll turn it on here and let it start up. Let it go through its check procedures here. Here's our menu. Our 12 volts a little bit low. We'll go to system info, and this is showing our isolation at only 207,000 ohms. That's not great. We want it to be around 50,000 kilo ohms. What happened with this is one of our battery cells in the battery box in the passenger side had damage to its case, which caused it to have low isolation or low resistance in contact with the battery box frame, and that can cause multiple problems. But we need to replace the battery cell basically. So the truck stopped charging; it wasn't charging the 12 volt. What we're going to do today is balance this new cell and stick it in the truck here. Take a look at our battery pack data. Our state of charge is pretty high. We want it to be almost fully charged when we balance the cell. Looks like our voltage is between 3.32 and 3.33, so that's probably about what we'll try to balance this cell to. So I'll head over to the van and start doing that now. Here's our passenger side battery box. There is, I believe, 11 modules in here made up of 7 cells each. Right, there's 36 modules total. Right back here in the back left corner, that's our bad cell there. When you're doing this, you gotta be careful. You wanna make sure you keep all your other covers on, keep your other bus bars covered. You don't want anything to cross between these two, especially these two. We'll be working on these. Honestly, I should probably have this one covered up while I'm unbolting this one here. So I'll get started on this, and we'll go from there. There's our 1 volt bus bar completely unbolted. These are your temperature and voltage monitoring wires just for the one module here. So make sure you keep those separated in the right order. We'll tuck them right over here. And I will go ahead and take this bus bar off. It's just one big solid bar of metal. Keep that clean, and then you've just got the tops of your positive terminals against your negative terminals here. So I'll work on this one next over here. Alright, there's our long bus bar, all unbolted, all along the negative side of this whole battery pack here. That's two pieces there, just to give it a little bit more rigidity since it's longer and up against more battery terminals. Now we'll work on getting that battery cell out there. Let me grab my handle for that. This here is just a 3D printed handle meant to butt right up against these. It sits nice and flush there, holds it in place. We'll set it here on the battery cell. Go ahead and drop a couple of these bolts in each side. Right, so now we've got our handle bolted up here. I've loosened the through put rods here. There's basically a plate in between here on each side that gets pressed using those all threads, and basically just smushes the batteries together, keeps them from changing size, shifting, or swelling. Now we should just be able to grab this, wiggle it on out, and well, right there is in the way. I did this before without the handle on. I guess I'll be doing that again. Give me 1 sec. Alright, so we've got our handle off of there. I should be able to get this out by hand. Maybe not with just one hand, but let me see if I can set this phone here while I pull it out. Pretty loose in here, so pull it out here, and there's our battery cell. I had pulled it out already last week and then put some tape around it and set it in there just to see if that would help the isolation any. You got it sitting in this like dielectric goo here down at the bottom. Keep it isolated a little bit, but that's only where it sits down in there. It's a little wet in this box too, which doesn't help with the isolation resistance. So let's get this over to the truck and we'll start balancing our other cell. Here's my little bit charging / balancing setups. We've got our Meanwell 3.3 volt charger here hooked up to these 2 positive negative leads here leading to our battery terminals. Those are bolted on nice and tight. And then over here we've got a meter monitoring our voltage output. Right now it's not on, so that's the voltage of our battery. And then over here we've got this set up with a amp clamp monitoring our current draw. You want to watch your current draw closely, because if it's pulling too much through these wires, you're going to want to add a whole nother wire and terminal up top here just to make sure it's not getting too hot and charging properly. Let me I've got a little inverter here hooked up to the van, so let me switch that on. Lights on here, which means it's charging, and it just started up there. Looks like it's outputting 3.357 volts, and what we want is about a max of 3.33. So go ahead and turn our screw here counterclockwise so we're sit where I want it to. It's very touchy. You just gotta move it and let it sit. Let it sit. 3.35. See, it's very touchy. I can mess around with it a bit here. Get it to sit where I want. I'll be right back. Alright, I've got it dialed in where I want it here. We're outputting 3.335, which is right about where I want it, into the battery, and then it's pulling, it says 4.5 millivolts, which equates to 1 millivolt per amp. So we're outputting about 4.5, 4.4 amps, so that's not too bad. So this could take a while. It could take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour here. So I'm going to go get the truck ready, clean it up and dry out that box a little to get it ready for this battery while it's charging. So it did start raining here, so we got to be careful. But I realized that normally when you charge these lithium iron phosphate cells, you want to charge them at a higher voltage at first. Each individual cell is typically charged at about 3.6 volts per cell, and then that's added up, depending on what type of battery pack they're in. I've turned up to about 3.61 for this initial charge, and we're now pulling around 25 or 21 amps, it looks like. So I'll keep an eye on that, make sure nothing's getting too warm here. Alright, so while that other cell is charging up here, I wanted to show you again this damaged cell. So this is the damaged side here. As you can see, there's a little nick, abrasion in the case here. It looks like it may have shifted inside of the box or something. Something poked this, or just wore through over time, it looks like. And the case of the battery here is actually the negative terminal. So any damage to this casing means the cell needs replaced. So let me see if we can check the voltage here, if I can get the probes to sit right. I can check the voltage through this pinhole here. See, we got a slight voltage there. I mean, any voltage at all, it really is going to mean that our resistance between the two, between the positive terminal and this negative here, we're basically touching the negative terminal here in some way. So we can't have that. So one more quick tip here before we're done charging. It's been about a little over an hour here. As I lower this voltage on this potentiometer closer to where we really need to be. See, I want to be around 3.329 is what our module voltage is, and this is really touchy. Anyways, as we get closer down, you see our voltage drops here. You see if I can get it right to where we need it. 3.328. Our amperage is dropping, a little between 0 and 2. That means it's almost done charging. But if we let it sit here, it's not going to fully charge up. So I'm going to ramp it up just a bit here and let it sit for a few more minutes until it's done. Alright, so our battery's done charging here. Let me see if I can get my lead set up here. And we are sitting right about where we wanted it. It seemed it was a little lower before, but 3.318. That's a little high, but it'll balance out here after a bit. So let me take it over the truck and we'll get it installed here real quick. Alright, it's got pretty dark here, but as you can see back here, we've got our cell installed, our new one, and I went ahead and put the rest of these bus bars on, put the bolts in, tightened them down. You want to make sure they're pretty snug. Start from the middle of these bus bars, go out on each side, and then go back down the line and make sure again that they're nice and snug. You want to make sure those have good contact. I'm going to go ahead and put the covers back on these, make sure there's no more water in there like that. I'll have to dry that up, and I'll get it all wrapped up, and we'll turn the truck on and see if it's working right. Obviously, I haven't put the truck completely back together. I've actually taken some of it apart here, as you can see. I got that cell in, got everything cleaned up, turned the truck on, turns on just fine. Everything looks good except for the isolation resistance. I came back down here, started taking stuff apart, and I've got that one lead on the battery box here, basically ground. I've got our multimeter set to put out 133 volts, and if I touch this side of the battery pack here, that's just under 400,000 kilo ohms. And remember, like I said before, We want to see 50,000 kilo ohms. That'd be 50.0 here mega ohms. On this side, we're seeing just over 500, and on this side, if I touch the battery that's still connected here, we're seeing just over 600. It's climbing a little bit, but so we've obviously still have a problem here. I think it could be maybe another damaged cell, but I doubt it. I think it's just that there's a bunch of water still sitting in the bottom of this box. See if I can show you here. Take my headlamp off and shine it in here a little bit better. As you can see in there, it's pretty wet down in there, and still pretty wet down in here if I can get it to focus. There's actual moisture accumulated down in there. So I believe it's causing a low isolation down at the bottom of the cells there. I think that's it for this video here. I'm going to wrap it up and sign out on this one, and then keep working on this truck. Maybe I'll take some more shots here, and I'll share with you what I find in the next videos. Thanks for watching, and check back for more.